Hi, everybody. Welcome to this series I'm putting together. It's called Industry Insiders. And today we have our very own, everybody knows her, Sue Woodard with Total Expert. Hi, Sue.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Glad to be here with you, Steve.
Live from Minnesota, right?
Live from Minnesota. Yeah, you can't quite see the snow in the background, but it is there. This is
It's coming.
Total
Winter is
Expert
coming.
HQ. So we're here, we're here in the snow.
Hey, so for those of the people out here that don't know who you are, can you let everybody know who you are and what you do?
I am. I'll share a little deeper. I'm the Chief Customer Officer here at Total Expert. When I started here now nearly 3 years ago, I had to ask our CEO, Joe Wellew, if that was a real title, because it sounded perfect for me. So it turns out that it is, but that's my heart and soul in this business, is really serving our customers like our amazing family at Loan Depot.
Awesome, thanks. And God, we've known each other for what, like 15 years, maybe a little bit longer?
Yes. And I think in mortgage years, it's even longer,
Ain't that
dog
the truth?
years, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think what's great about your background is you started out in production, you grew teams, like you were able to leverage all the things that made you a success and how you marketed. And now this seems like a dream job for you. You get to interact with people and kind of apply best practices, which I know we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. No, it really is. And honestly, there's days when I see and get to kind of live in some of the technology that's available now that literally just wasn't available back in the day. There's days that I think
didn't do it for you.
Yes, I originated, ACT, right? Like I feel like I was originating in the wrong era, but yeah, it's exciting stuff because it really does marry together all the things that I care about so much in the business.
Yeah, well, I was looking forward to spending time with you today because I think what I was hoping to share with people is just from your vantage point, you get to see so many things, but I know what we're going to talk about is kind of best practices you see with top producers and how they market, kind of where the future is going with CRM and that kind of stuff, and then how social media is being used. So why don't we get right to it? From your vantage point, Total Expert, or just in the industry, like what do you see as some of the best practices for the top producers and how they're really leveraging their database and integrating technology into their business plan?
Well, I love that you actually just said it like that, because one of the things we talk about actually literally is that we believe the future is going to belong to the brands that successfully can combine human and technology to create those great experiences and those great relationships that people can trust, right? And the brands like Loan Depot are doing exactly that. It's not about technology replacing people, it's about the combination of the two, because the experience is really the differentiator and it's all about communication. So, I think that the couple of insights that I would say I've seen just top producers doing, and some of the stuff is like, it's not sexy. It's not going to come as a surprise because some of it is just about consistency, right? It's like working out. It's like, I'd love to just go work out for 6 hours in a day and then just be done for a month, but it doesn't work that way, right? You have to be very consistent with what you're doing. And so some of the things that I've seen some great top producers do, particularly in the last 6 months, is really reevaluate their customer experience. What does that customer journey look like? And even if you've done that in the past, it really is, it's a constant effort that you have to keep going through, particularly as, through the coronavirus that we're living in now, if you haven't really checked in on your communications and shifted them and thought about your cadence and your timing and your tone, you should check them, right? And so again, it's just a constant evolution to do that. The other thing that I would tell you is certainly when I was an originator, but I see a lot of great originators doing this now, is they're militant with their time blocking and their planning, where it just requires some maintenance. And so blocking out that time to map out your customer journey, right? And don't get crazy about the technology it takes to do that. You literally can use a wall and some Post-it notes, map it all out, but then take the time to actually make sure your database is cleaned up, that you actually have accounted for, your leads, what's happening in process, those folks in your database who are past customers, but kind of also your customers to be, people that are just in there that aren't necessarily raising their hand right now, but you want to make sure that you're the person who's getting in front of them, especially as the market is shifting. One of the other things that I'll mention too is that, content's always king. Video, it's all about video. One of the fantastic things that has happened in the coronavirus is that we've all gotten used to being on video, right? I used to ask people like, how many of you are using video marketing? And people would be like, not really. But the reason they'd say that is because they didn't like what they looked like on video, right? Even though that's literally like what your face looks like. But now we've all gotten used to not only doing video, but looking at ourselves on video. In fact, they say there's only two kinds of people out there: those who are looking at themselves while they're on Zoom, and liars, right? Everyone's looking at themselves, right? So we're used to it now, but make sure that you're using video, because just when you are going out and creating that plan, especially now when people are craving that eye contact, even digital eye contact, I think Vidyard is just a fantastic solution of choice there at Loan Depot. And just make sure that you're utilizing video as often as you can, but creating that plan, getting consistency around it, making sure that you're plugging the gaps in that journey for the leads, loans in process, customers, referral partners, and just set it, let it roll for you, but reevaluate on a pretty regular basis and put that time in your calendar, because it won't come up organically.
Hey, wouldn't like, and I totally agree with you with video. It's interesting too, because you used to be able to build and maintain relationships over the phone before there was video or before there was social media, but now you can really kind of create engagement and get people to know, like, and trust you using the video.
Absolutely right.
Are you seeing like the frequency of those videos? Is it, a monthly thing, a weekly thing? I mean, I know it depends on if somebody's
as you can.
or something else.
Yeah, I would say as often as you can, even, short form video, if you're using video on social, I mean, whatever you can do. People, it's just very, it's like way deep in the way your brains are wired. People are attracted to people's faces. And the thing that I always think about with content is, stories are always good ones, stories, and it doesn't have to be, don't overthink it, but a story, a stat, a call to action. We are in a business of stories, so it's really easy. Everything that we're doing, especially in the purchase world, that we're shifting even more to, which I know we're going to talk about next. Man, we're in a business of stories. People's lives are changing. You don't have to name people's names and get, sign-ups, but you can tell a story about an amazing person that you've helped, or what they've, the challenge they were facing that you were able to come through. That's one of the other great things about what we are going through right now is, 2008, last big economic downturn, we were kind of the villains. This time we can actually be the heroes, right? We're making huge differences in people's lives today. But yes, it's about that engagement, that consistency. And I don't know if I could say there's anything that's too often, getting out on the different channels, on social, email, and thinking through the one-to-many. I think that's also something, Loan Depot is so innovative always with marketing, but utilizing video, even if it's not you and your face, but you've got some great materials from Loan Depot, use them. It's the most consumed content that's out there. And Loan Depot is knocking it out of the park.
Thanks. It's interesting too, when you talk about stories, stats, and call to action. I mean, when I met you in the beginning, I think it was really a solution selling oriented thing. Someone has a pain, you have a solution, deal's done, right? Yes. But it seems like you really have to get emotional engagement and attachment. And the only way you're going to do that is by somebody relating to a story. So
that's right.
I totally agree with you there. Somebody's experience going through the loan process with you, something about a realtor. I mean, on the recruiting side too, we tell the same stories. It's big producer came over, had a great transition, is doing more business now than they did before. But that's the stuff that I think people really can relate to. And it's just different, like with the emotional attachment they get.
Yes, absolutely. And, and I know we were going to shift and talk a little bit about how the market is evolving. And this is kind of a good segue to it, actually, is really talking about the shift to purchase business. And I shouldn't say a shift to purchase business, but a shift to less refinance business, a little more purchase business happening. Mike Frantoni at the MBA conference talked about how next year there's anticipated a 40% decline in refinance business, still plenty of it, but more purchase business. And so I think that's a big shift that everybody's been talking about, and what are we going to do with that? And again, as we move to purchase business, particularly now, again, but it's a business of stories. I always think about the fact, and I never took this lightly when I was originating myself, is that, when people are buying a home, a major life event is happening. They could be getting married, they could be getting divorced, maybe somebody's had a baby, maybe somebody's retiring, empty nesting. I mean, who knows, what all is happening, right? So that's a part of someone's experience. So even though, we take this 1003 and even just that, think about the amazingly personal information we're asking. It's like literally stuff you'd never ask on like the first date or at a cocktail party, like how much money do you make? And
financially naked, really.
Right? Exactly. So, just really, I think sometimes it's just, this is the day in, day out of what we're doing. But man, when you take a beat and go, wow, somebody's life is probably changing right now. Something big is happening for them. And they have just bared their soul and told me everything on the financial dashboard about themselves that no other financial professional gets. Think about the magnitude of what we're able to do. So it's exactly what you just said. It's really engaging with them and creating an experience that's just something different, because every single interaction that somebody has with you and your brand is either going to build trust or it's going to erode trust.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've got that opportunity every step of the way.
Spot on. Hey, so with where the market is evolving, and I know, most of the consistent sustainability for a mortgage company is purchase business. So everybody's going to figure out how to kind of shift there if they're not strong in it. But this information we have on people is crazy, like the applications and all the data and what you can do in a database. What are, with the market and how it's evolving, how do you see strong database marketers capturing more purchase business and leveraging some of the intel they had on these people in past transactions, or just being strong in that area?
Absolutely. I think in some cases, there's two different things I see people doing. In some cases, it's just asking really good questions, right? I mean, there's so much information in the database, but even when you're just floating past somebody who's got, kids of a certain age, but they don't have any money in savings for college, are you asking those questions and saying, hey, is that something that you've thought about? Is there a different way maybe we could structure your, transaction here and help you actually accomplish that, make that dream come true? And none of this is really new. But it's things that I feel like we've gotten a little bit away from, and that's how you really change somebody's life.
It still keeps somebody in that advisory position too, right? Where it's like
absolutely.
They're trying to uncover where's somebody going without what the information you see doesn't tell the story. So they do have to do some due diligence and really ask a lot of questions to get to know them.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is I think anytime that we've had, I've been in the business for 30 years now, and anytime that we've had a big refinance market, this is like the Mac Daddy of all refinance markets, we don't pay enough attention to the real estate agents. We don't pay enough attention to those realtors who, that is, as you just said, purchase businesses, that's our lifeblood. And so now is the time I would get ahead. I'm seeing some of the best originators out there really walking away, from some volume right now and saying, I'm going to set up my business to make sure that I am positioned to grab that purchase business next year. I know there's all kinds of agents that have been ignored. People haven't been partnering with them. People haven't been paying attention to them. I'm going to get ahead of that, right? And these are some of the great ways in which, Total Expert and Loan Depot work together. There's amazing tools that are out there to partner with agents, the single property sites and the listing notifications and, so many cool things. But it's one of those things where you have to block out the time. And, sometimes I think, this environment we've been living in is so weird. But if you think about any show that have you binge watched any shows, Steve? Have you had some
tons. I wish there was more new ones out there. I feel like I've seen them all.
Right. But name any of those shows, right? And tell me, what was your favorite?
God, drawing a blank right
I put you on the spot. Did you watch Tiger King? Let me ask you.
I didn't go there yet.
Okay, I did. I watched it. My point being, whatever it was that if you're listening to this, whatever it was that you binged, right? As good or bad as it was, if you committed 6, 7, or 8 hours of your life or more to a show, you can commit 6, 7, or 8 hours of your life to really putting an entire day or 2 days aside and figuring out, what do I need to shift to make sure I'm positioned to grab that purchase market going forward? Now is the time to do it. And everybody thinks they don't have time. You've got time.
That's the truth. Hey, there's a few things that are different now with realtors too, though. And I know you see this data, but like the realtors that used to have 1 or 2 lenders they would refer loans to, now you pull data on them. And if they've done 40 transactions, there might be 20 or 25 different loan officers. So they're getting pre-qualified borrowers before, our relationships are in place. Sometimes we can cross-qual, but the crazy thing to me is just all the data that's out there and who's buying it and what they're doing with it. If we're not marketing, someone else is, and it's always going to be a missed opportunity.
Right. That's it. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. If you're not following up with your leads, absolutely somebody else is. And in many cases, it is about speed. They say it's something like 78% of the time, whoever responds most quickly to that lead is going to be the person that actually gets that transaction. And so speed is definitely a lot of it. People are also multi-apping in record levels, right? You look at the Zillow study of home ownership. They talk about how people are applying multiple places. In many cases, I don't even think they mean to. Honestly, sometimes you're scrolling through that Zillow app and it's like, whoops, I just applied for a loan and somebody's calling me. But you've got to be that person who's ahead of it, right? And again, it's also about, it is about making that right connection with the person. This is something that's very, a little interesting and different about, the Gen Zs and the millennials coming in. they are definitely looking at, when they're doing this, they're looking at people and they're looking at their business and they're, what do you stand for and what causes are you about? I mean, it's interesting, but things like that.
Searching them online, trying to see what they can find. Well,
Yep.
if there's videos and things in social, it just gives them more substance
That's
to
right.
build trust with
Yep.
virtually.
Yep. Your messaging matters.
Right. All right. So shifting gears to the last part, and thank you for this. I love your insights. And again, what I think is really great about what you get to see is you get to see national kind of point of view, different kinds of companies, implementing and executing on Total Expert differently, but so many people in the marketplace having such great success. So it's like a great kind of metadata aggregation of all of it. But what are some of the best practices you see for social media, like the different platforms, some of the content, and then the frequency with those kinds of things?
Yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit. In fact, some of the interesting demographics are about kind of the different platforms and who's there, right? So one of the most important things I think about social media is figuring out where your audience is, right? And then go to the place where your audience is. Interesting demographics on Instagram. There's 1 billion users and 500 million of them are active every single day. 71% of Americans between 18 and 24 are on Instagram. Interesting, 43% African Americans, 38% Hispanic, 32% white for US users. So again,
wow, those are powerful stats.
I thought it was really powerful, right? Facebook, a little different. It has more active monthly users than any one country's population in the entire world. Yeah, 1.4 billion daily users, right? 2.13 billion monthly users. It's 25 to 34-year-olds still, right? Are the biggest segment for US users. I think a lot of people, my daughter who's 23 tells me that they just go on Facebook now to like put stuff for me and grandma, it's like they do their real stuff somewhere else. But, again, 75% of adults are on it. Twitter, very interesting. It's a big platform. It's a very political platform, very different than some of the other ones. It has 330 million active monthly users. Interesting, like just fact on it is 45% of new users coming onto Twitter right now have, and this is in 2020, have college degrees. So it's just, it's kind of interesting. The bottom line is you can figure out pretty quickly where are the people that I want to market to and how do I get with them? Yep.
Those are massive audiences too. So, there's tons of buying power and opportunities in each of them.
Huge. And one of the things that I'll tell you, I've seen just great producers doing on social is they use what's called the rule of thirds on social media. And what that means is that they're using a third of their posts to, talk about their business, to talk about something that's actually, happening in the industry and the business. A third of their posts are to share content from other influencers, right? So maybe it's similar businesses, like-minded businesses, people that are, in our business, it could be, Elliot Eisenberg or, people that are talking about the economy, different things like that. And a third is really personal. So, and there's such a thing as kind of the professional personal, right? It's like, right, where it's your personal self and you're telling a story about something, but you're showing who you are, but it still is, you're doing it, in a business sense, right? And so it's a third content about, your business. And again, that's where those stories can fit in. A third with other influencers and thought leaders out there that relate to what you're doing. And a third, your own personal stories. And that looks like a winning combination for the people who are doing it best.
Well, and each of those platforms is so different too. So you can have the same content in all three platforms and have it be kind of a different message. So there's a lot of thought that needs to go into it too, right?
Yes. Yep. And it's, just kind of finding the form that works the best, the tone that works the best. And your tone tends to be, your tone is like your voice, right? It's still me, whether I'm on Facebook or Twitter or, LinkedIn, but the way that you maybe talk things or position things, or how you use photos or video might be a little bit different. And also just knowing when your users are there too, right? It's very different. It's interesting, kind of middle of the day, middle of the week is a sweet spot for a lot of those platforms, but it's actually even different. B2B is different than B2C. So depending on, are you looking to get realtors? Are you looking to get those consumers? I just think the bottom line on it is you can get crazy thinking about like, how do I get scientific and do it at 11:17 Pacific and Tuesday? You know what, just do it, right? That's the first step is make some of these things happen. Don't overthink it, take the actions and put yourself out there. And the biggest thing I would tell people too is, especially with social, don't overthink like it's got to be perfect. Like I need a script, like I have to have it. You've got just amazing people doing amazing videos at Loan Depot that I just love. I love to follow. They're super organic, the Hansons. And
I think what I've learned in my short time doing it is it's all about just being authentic and putting yourself out there. And like you had said, it's like, you know, you're going to have kids running around in the background or some noise with some gardeners. I don't know if you heard that, but the gardeners are in my backyard right now. And you just got to get it out there. And it's the consistency, like going to the gym. You know, you can't do it one day a week and expect the results. You just got to be timed and consistent.
Be
Going
consistent.
back to
Be
when
real.
you find that like there are ideal times to post, or it's just staggering it. Some morning, some midday, some evening. And
You know, a lot of times for me, I'd rather just post some, even if it's just like, oh, I know that 4:30 is probably not the best time. You know, I mean, here's what they say. I mean, they say that for Facebook, it's between 9 to 2 Eastern on Tuesday through Thursday, with noon being kind of a sweet spot. On Twitter, it is like 9 to 4 Monday through Thursday, with 11 to 1 being the sweet spot. B2C kind of saying, you know, more Monday through Wednesday, Monday through Thursday. But this is what I mean. It's kind of midday, midweek.
It's like lunch hours, people taking their break and opening up the phone and just seeing you, really, right?
Yeah. But doing it at an imperfect time is better than like perfectly never doing it at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, well, I have always appreciated you and what you do for the industry. So thank you for that. And then maybe just parting thoughts, like what are some big things you see happening in 2021 that you're excited about?
You know, I think what I'm most excited about is I think you've known me long enough to know, you know, I'm in love with this industry, and
yes.
And the world is in an interesting and unique place right now where trust is at, you know, a low. There's so many things that we've been dealing with, whether it's civil unrest, pandemic, politics, the economy. I mean, there's a lot of things happening right now. And the thing that I think is such an amazing thing about our industry is we are actually positioned to be able to really make a difference, to help educate, to help inform, to help guide, to help people rebuild credit, to help achieve home ownership. In communities that maybe haven't been able to before, providing some security, information, you know, saving people money. I mean, there's so many places where I genuinely feel like we can make a real difference in this industry with what's happening in the world. And again, it's why I've been in love with this industry. Is it's just different than the people who make chapstick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just different. We're doing something bigger and more meaningful. And I would just say that in the, you know, in kind of the chaos of the world and the chaos of any given day, don't lose sight of that we're literally changing families, communities, and really the world with what we're doing.
So powerful. And I agree with you too. In 2008, it was totally different. We were like the cause of things and blamed. And now it's like, we're really helping people lower their fixed expense, build wealth, kind of put themselves and their families in a different position.
Absolutely.
Well, as always, I totally appreciate you. Like I said, and everything you do for our industry, it's way beyond total expert. And I thank you for your time. And hopefully this is valuable for people. Well, not hopefully, this is extremely valuable for people. So thanks for sharing all that stuff.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
And stay warm out there in Minnesota.
We're trying.